Every idea that enters the mind is a seed, and every seed carries within it the pattern of its own fulfillment. Life is not shaped by chance or circumstance, but by the quiet, unseen laws that respond faithfully to thought, word, and feeling. What appears outwardly as confusion, delay, or limitation is often the result of inner pictures long held without awareness. When understanding awakens, a person begins to see that experience is not something happening to them, but something moving through them, shaped by their own conscious or unconscious expectations. This realization is not meant to burden the mind, but to free it, for what has been created through thought can be transformed through thought aligned with truth. The human spirit was never designed for struggle alone, nor for endless effort without reward. There is a natural order to progress, a rhythm in which right ideas lead to right outcomes. When one learns to cooperate with this order, life begins to unfold with greater harmony. Obstacles soften, timing improves, and what once felt forced starts to flow. This does not require pushing against life, but trusting that there is an intelligent power always working for expansion, clarity, and good. The moment a person stops arguing with limitation and starts expecting alignment, new doors appear where walls once stood. Speech plays a powerful role in this process. Words are not merely sounds, they are commands impressed upon the unseen. Spoken repeatedly, they shape belief, and belief shapes action and results. When words are careless, they reinforce fear and lack. When they are deliberate and harmonious, they prepare the way for constructive change. A single sentence, spoken with conviction, can dissolve years of inner resistance. For this reason, awareness of speech becomes awareness of destiny itself, because every declaration carries direction. Equally important is the emotional tone behind thought and speech. Desire mixed with doubt weakens its own expression, while desire united with calm expectancy gathers strength. Trust is not passive, it is an active state of knowing that what is meant to arrive cannot miss its appointment. In this state, impatience fades, comparison loses its grip, and the mind becomes receptive rather than anxious. Receptivity is the open door through which ideas, opportunities, and solutions enter naturally. Life responds most generously when the individual aligns inner vision with higher order rather than personal strain. Instead of asking how something will happen, one learns to affirm that it is already unfolding in the right way. This shift removes pressure from the mind and allows insight to surface. Guidance often arrives subtly, as a sudden clarity, a timely conversation, or an unexpected opening. These are not coincidences, but evidence of alignment. The purpose of understanding these principles is not control, but cooperation. When thought, word, and feeling move in harmony, effort becomes lighter and progress more certain. The individual begins to recognize that fulfillment is not distant or reserved for a few, but is a natural outcome of right alignment. In this awareness, confidence grows, fear loosens, and life starts reflecting the order and balance first accepted within. Thought, as the creative force of experience. Thought is not a passive activity drifting harmlessly through the mind, it is an active force constantly impressing itself upon life. Every condition, whether harmonious or discordant, begins as an idea accepted and entertained. The mind acts as a fertile field, receiving impressions without discrimination, unless consciously directed. Whatever is planted there, consciously or unconsciously, seeks expression through experience. This is why repeated thoughts, even when casually held, gradually harden into belief and then externalize as circumstance. Life mirrors the dominant mental picture with remarkable accuracy, reflecting not wishes alone but expectations deeply rooted in consciousness. When a person understands thought as a creative force, responsibility shifts from outer conditions to inner awareness. Instead of blaming situations, people, or fate, attention turns inward to the patterns of thinking that have been allowed to persist. This is not a process of self-criticism, but of self-observation. Awareness brings power, because what is seen clearly can be changed deliberately. The moment one recognizes that thought precedes experience, the sense of helplessness dissolves, replaced by a quiet authority over one's inner world. Thought gains momentum through repetition. A single idea, held briefly, may pass without effect, but an idea revisited daily becomes a blueprint. Worry is simply imagination trained on unwanted outcomes, while faith is imagination aligned with harmony. Both use the same creative faculty. The difference lies only in direction. The mind does not distinguish between what is feared and what is desired. It responds to clarity, emotion, and persistence. For this reason, disciplined thinking is not restraint but liberation, freeing the creative power from unconscious misuse. Belief is thought that has been accepted without question. Once an idea becomes belief, it operates automatically, shaping perception and behavior. People often act in ways that confirm their beliefs without realizing it, reinforcing the very conditions they wish to escape. Changing belief does not require struggle, but replacement. A limiting belief weakens when a stronger, truer idea is introduced and affirmed consistently. As the new idea takes root, actions begin to shift naturally, and with them, results. Imagination plays a central role in the creative process. What the mind consistently pictures, the subconscious works to express. Mental images influence emotion, and emotion fuels manifestation. When imagination is allowed to dwell on lack, conflict, or delay, it programs the inner mechanism toward those outcomes. When imagination is trained to rest on order, supply, and right action, it becomes an instrument of constructive change. This does not mean ignoring reality, but choosing the inner image that leads reality toward improvement. Thought must be aligned with clarity rather than urgency. Desperate thinking carries the vibration of doubt, while calm expectancy carries assurance. The creative force responds more readily to certainty than to intensity. When the mind is frantic, it sends mixed signals. When it is composed, it sends a clear command. Learning to think from a place of inner stability allows ideas to mature without interference. In this state, patience is not waiting, but trusting the process already in motion. The quality of thought determines the quality of experience. Thoughts colored by resentment attract conflict. Thoughts filled with fear attract restriction. And thoughts grounded in confidence attract opportunity. This is not punishment or reward, but law in operation. Just as gravity responds consistently, thought responds consistently, shaping patterns that repeat until a new pattern is introduced. Understanding this law removes superstition and replaces it with conscious participation in life's unfolding. Attention is the channel through which thought gains strength. Whatever the mind dwells upon expands in influence. By withdrawing attention from negative patterns and placing it deliberately on constructive ideas, the creative force is redirected. This requires practice because the mind often defaults to familiar grooves. Each time attention is consciously redirected, a new pathway is formed. Over time, these pathways become natural, and the mind begins to favor harmony without effort. Silence also has a role in creative thinking. Periods of mental stillness allow deeper insight to surface. When the mind stops rehearsing old narratives, it becomes receptive to new ideas that carry greater alignment. Inspiration often arises not from effort, but from openness. In this receptive state, thought aligns with a higher order, and solutions appear without strain. This is not accidental, but the natural result of removing resistance. Thought is most powerful when united with feeling, yet feeling must be guided rather than uncontrolled. Emotional reactions rooted in fear or anger intensify unwanted outcomes, while emotions grounded in gratitude and confidence amplify constructive ones. Feeling acts as the energy that propels thought into form. When thought and feeling move together in harmony, creation becomes swift and orderly. As understanding deepens, the individual begins to think from possibility rather than limitation. Instead of asking whether something can happen, the mind affirms that the right outcome is already unfolding. This shift changes the inner dialogue, replacing doubt with alignment. The creative force responds to this inner certainty, arranging circumstances in ways that often seem effortless from the outside. Thought, once recognized as creative, becomes a sacred responsibility. Each idea entertained is a choice, each mental image a direction given to life. Mastery does not come from controlling the outer world, but from guiding the inner one with awareness and intention. In this practice, thought ceases to be random and becomes purposeful, shaping experience in accordance with harmony, clarity, and natural order. The power of spoken words in shaping outcomes. Spoken words are the audible extension of thought, carrying intention into form with speed and precision. What is spoken aloud impresses the subconscious more deeply than silent thinking, because sound gives thought direction and authority. Words shape inner belief first, and belief then shapes action, reaction, and circumstance. Many people speak without awareness, repeating phrases learned through habit, fear, or social conditioning, unaware that these phrases act as commands rather than descriptions. Language is not neutral, it is formative, continuously building or dismantling inner structures that determine experience. Every word spoken carries a tone, and that tone carries power. Words spoken in certainty carry a different force than words spoken in doubt. Even when the same sentence is used, the feeling behind it determines its effectiveness. Complaints spoken repeatedly become agreements with limitation, while affirmations spoken calmly become agreements with order. The subconscious accepts repetition as instruction, regardless of whether the instruction is constructive or destructive. For this reason, careless speech becomes one of the most common ways people undermine their own progress. Speech influences perception. When a person frequently verbalizes difficulty, delay, or lack, the mind begins to scan the environment for evidence that confirms those statements. This selective perception strengthens the belief that such conditions are unavoidable. On the other hand, when speech emphasizes harmony, right timing, and support, perception shifts to notice opportunities that were previously overlooked. The outer world does not change first, awareness changes first, guided by spoken declarations. Words spoken about oneself are especially potent. Self-talk spoken aloud reinforces identity. When individuals repeatedly label themselves as unlucky, weak, or incapable, those RDS become instructions to the subconscious, shaping behavior and expectation. Actions then align with the identity declared, and outcomes follow accordingly. Changing external results therefore requires changing the language used to describe oneself and one's experience. This is not denial, but redirection, choosing words that align with growth rather than repetition of old patterns. Speech also affects emotional state. Certain words trigger tension, while others bring ease. When language is harsh or final, the nervous system responds defensively. When language is open and affirming, the body relaxes, allowing clearer thinking. This physiological response influences decision-making and timing. Calm speech supports calm action, and calm action tends to produce better outcomes. In this way, speech shapes not only belief, but behavior through emotional regulation. The power of words lies in consistency rather than force. Shouting affirmations without belief creates resistance, while gentle, repeated statements gradually recondition the mind. The subconscious responds best to calm authority, not emotional strain. A few well-chosen sentences spoken daily carry more influence than dramatic declarations spoken sporadically. This steady use of language builds a new internal atmosphere, one in which constructive outcomes feel natural rather than forced. Silence between words is equally important. Speaking too much scatters energy, while intentional speech concentrates it. When words are chosen deliberately, they carry weight. Pausing before speaking allows alignment between thought and intention. In this pause, unnecessary expressions fall away, and speech becomes purposeful rather than reactive. Reactive speech often reinforces the very conditions one wishes to change, while intentional speech interrupts old cycles. Words spoken in the present tense carry particular strength. Language that places fulfillment in a distant future reinforces waiting, while language grounded in present alignment reinforces readiness. Saying that something is unfolding now prepares the mind to act in accordance with that statement. The subconscious organizes behavior to match present declarations more readily than future promises. This is why habitual phrases about someday or eventually tend to delay outcomes, while present-focused language accelerates alignment. Speech influences relationships as well. Words spoken about others shape expectations and interactions. When people are spoken of as difficult or unreliable, interactions tend to confirm those descriptions. When they are spoken of with respect and trust, behavior often shifts accordingly. This is not manipulation, but alignment of perception with potential. Language sets the tone for interaction, and tone influences response. Changing the way one speaks about others often changes the quality of connection without direct effort. The spoken word also acts as a boundary. Clear verbal declarations define what is accepted and what is not. When individuals fail to speak clearly, confusion fills the space. Clear, calm statements establish order internally and externally. This clarity reduces conflict and increases cooperation, because expectations are no longer hidden or implied. Words spoken with clarity create structure, and structure supports flow. Negative statements often disguise themselves as realism. Phrases meant to sound practical can quietly undermine confidence. Recognizing this pattern allows a shift toward language that is both honest and constructive. One can acknowledge challenges without declaring permanence. The difference lies in wording. Language that acknowledges movement and possibility keeps the mind flexible, while language that declares finality locks the mind into limitation. As awareness of speech grows, individuals begin to listen to their own words with new attention. Patterns emerge, revealing where energy has been leaking through complaint, doubt, or repetition of old stories. Each correction, however small, redirects momentum. Over time, speech becomes an instrument of alignment rather than a record of frustration. This transformation does not require perfection, only consistency and willingness. Spoken words, once understood as creative tools, are chosen with care. Each sentence becomes an opportunity to affirm order, clarity, and right action. Language shifts from reaction to direction, guiding thought and experience along more harmonious lines. In this practice, words cease to describe life and begin to shape it, carrying intention forward with quiet authority and steady influence. Emotional alignment is the quiet agreement between what one desires and what one expects. When desire moves in one direction and expectation in another, energy becomes divided, and progress slows. Many people want improvement while emotionally preparing for disappointment, and this inner contradiction weakens creative momentum. Emotion acts as the atmosphere in which thought operates. When that atmosphere is charged with tension, impatience, or fear, even positive ideas struggle to take form. When emotion is calm and receptive, ideas unfold with greater ease and coherence. Calm expectancy is not passive hope, nor is it emotional excitement. It is a settled inner knowing that what is meant to arrive is already in motion. This state does not rush outcomes or demand proof. Instead, it rests in trust, allowing the unseen processes of alignment to work without interference. Emotional urgency often signals doubt disguised as effort. The more one strains emotionally, the more the subconscious receives the message that something is missing or uncertain. Calm, expectancy removes this signal and replaces it with assurance. Emotions are powerful communicators to the subconscious. While thoughts give direction, emotions provide intensity. An idea felt deeply carries more influence than an idea merely repeated. However, intensity without balance creates instability. Fear is intense, but it produces contraction. Confidence is steady, and it produces expansion. Emotional alignment means cultivating feelings that support the desired outcome, rather than contradict it. This does not require suppressing emotion, but understanding and guiding it. Many emotional patterns are habitual, formed through repetition rather than intention. People often react automatically to situations based on past experiences, carrying old emotional responses into new circumstances. These responses can sabotage present alignment. Recognizing this pattern allows a pause between stimulus and reaction. In that pause, emotion can be chosen rather than inherited. Choice restores alignment and prevents the past from dictating the present. Calm expectancy changes how time is experienced. Impatience compresses time and creates pressure, while trust allows time to expand naturally. When individuals feel rushed internally, they tend to make premature decisions or overlook subtle guidance. Emotional calm sharpens perception. In a relaxed state, intuition becomes clearer and timing improves. Opportunities are recognized more easily because the mind is not clouded by anxiety. Gratitude is a stabilizing emotion that supports expectancy. When gratitude is present, attention shifts from what is lacking to what is already working. This shift signals sufficiency to the subconscious. From a state of sufficiency, creation flows more freely. Gratitude does not deny desire. It prepares the ground for fulfillment by affirming that life is responsive and supportive. This emotional tone strengthens confidence without forcing outcomes. Fear often enters when control is prioritized over alignment. The desire to control every step creates emotional tension, because life rarely conforms to rigid expectations. Calm expectancy releases the need for control while maintaining clarity of intention. It trusts that the route to fulfillment may differ from personal planning, yet still arrive at the right destination. This flexibility reduces resistance and allows solutions to appear in unexpected ways. Emotional alignment also affects physical responses. The body mirrors emotional states through posture, breathing, and energy levels. When emotion is anxious, the body tightens, reducing clarity and endurance. When emotion is calm, the body relaxes, supporting focus and resilience. This physical ease contributes to better communication, better decision-making, and more effective action. Alignment therefore influences not only inner experience but outward effectiveness. Expectancy must be free of comparison. Comparing progress with others introduces doubt and impatience, disrupting emotional balance. Each path unfolds according to its own rhythm. When attention shifts inward rather than outward, emotional stability increases. Trust grows when one stops measuring progress against external timelines and begins listening to internal signals. This inward focus strengthens alignment and preserves energy. Setbacks often test emotional alignment. When outcomes do not appear immediately, emotion may drift toward frustration or self-doubt. Calm expectancy reframes delays as adjustments rather than failures. This interpretation preserves confidence and prevents emotional collapse. The way delay is emotionally interpreted determines whether momentum is lost or maintained. Alignment allows persistence without struggle. Consistency emotional tone is more important than intensity. Brief moments of enthusiasm followed by long periods of doubt create instability. A steady emotional baseline of trust produces better results than fluctuating highs and lows. This steadiness is cultivated through awareness, not suppression. Emotions are acknowledged, then gently guided back to alignment. Over time, calm becomes the default state rather than an effort. Faith, in this sense, is emotional agreement with possibility. It does not require evidence, it requires openness. When emotion agrees with the idea that life is orderly and responsive, resistance dissolves. Actions taken from this state feel natural rather than forced. Effort becomes focused instead of frantic. This quality of action often produces results that appear effortless from the outside. Calm expectancy also sharpens discernment. When emotion is settled, intuition is easier to trust. Decisions are made with clarity rather than impulse. This reduces regret and course correction. Emotional noise often disguises itself as urgency, pushing decisions before alignment is complete. Calm removes this pressure, allowing timing to reveal itself naturally. As emotional alignment deepens, the individual becomes less reactive to external circumstances. Praise and criticism lose their power to disturb inner balance. This independence strengthens expectancy because confidence no longer depends on external validation. When emotion is self-regulated, trust in inner guidance increases, and outcomes align more consistently with intention. Emotional alignment is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of coherence. Desire, belief, and feeling move together rather than pulling in different directions. In this coherence, energy flows without obstruction. Calm expectancy sustains this flow, allowing creation to unfold in an orderly and balanced way, guided by inner stability rather than outer pressure. Trust in unseen order and right timing. Trust in unseen order begins when the mind accepts that not everything valuable is immediately visible. Much of life's movement happens beneath the surface, where causes are forming long before effects appear. People often lose confidence because they judge progress only by what can be seen, forgetting that growth follows stages. Seeds break open in darkness before they reach light, and in the same way, ideas, opportunities, and solutions develop quietly before they take form. Trust grows when one understands that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but a sign that alignment is still unfolding. Right timing operates independently of personal urgency. The human tendency is to rush outcomes, believing that speed guarantees success. Yet many delays are not denials, but protections. When timing is forced, results may arrive without stability, clarity, or readiness. Trusting timing means releasing the belief that effort alone determines outcome, and recognizing that coordination plays an equal role. Circumstances, people, and conditions must align, and this alignment often requires patience rather than pressure. The unseen order responds to clarity, not control. Attempts to control every detail often create resistance because they imply distrust. Trust, on the other hand, allows flexibility. When expectations are rigid, disappointment follows any deviation. When trust is present, deviations are seen as redirections rather than failures. This perspective preserves momentum and emotional balance, allowing progress to continue even when plans shift. Many people associate trust with passivity, but true trust is active awareness without strain. It involves holding a clear intention while remaining open to how that intention will express itself. Action still occurs, but action is guided rather than frantic. Trust removes desperation from effort, replacing it with confidence. Effort made from confidence tends to be more effective because it is aligned rather than reactive. Timing is often tested during periods of apparent stagnation. These periods can trigger doubt and impatience, tempting the mind to abandon alignment or revert to old patterns. Trust reframes stillness as preparation. During these phases, understanding deepens, skills refine, and inner resistance dissolves. Though nothing seems to move externally, internal adjustments are taking place that will support sustainable progress later. The unseen order communicates through subtle signals rather than dramatic signs. Intuition, repeated ideas, unexpected pauses, and sudden clarity are all expressions of timing at work. When the mind is quiet enough to listen, these signals become noticeable. Trust sharpens sensitivity to these cues. Doubt, on the other hand, creates noise that drowns them out. This is why trust often leads to better decisions even when information appears incomplete. Comparing timelines disrupts trust. Observing others' progress and measuring one's own against it introduces unnecessary pressure. Each path has unique variables, and timing reflects readiness rather than worth. Trust strengthens when attention is withdrawn from comparison and returned to inner guidance. This inward focus reinforces the understanding that fulfillment is not a competition but an alignment. Fear often disguises itself as urgency. The belief that something must happen immediately usually stems from anxiety about loss or inadequacy. Trust dissolves this fear by affirming that what is meant to arrive cannot be missed. This assurance reduces impulsive decisions and supports consistency. When fear no longer drives action, choices become clearer and more effective. Trust in unseen order also reshapes the interpretation of mistakes. Errors are no longer viewed as proof of failure, but as feedback. Each misstep reveals information that refines direction. Timing adjusts through these refinements, preventing repetition of the same outcomes. Trust allows learning without self-condemnation, preserving confidence even when correction is needed. Letting go of attachment to specific forms strengthens trust. Often the mind fixates on how something should happen, overlooking better alternatives. The unseen order may deliver the same essence through a different channel. Trust allows recognition of these alternatives without resistance. When attachment loosens, gratitude increases, and appreciation reinforces alignment. Periods of waiting test internal dialogue. Thoughts during these times either strengthen or weaken trust. Language filled with complaint undermines confidence, while language that affirms order sustains it. What is repeatedly affirmed during waiting becomes the emotional climate in which timing operates. Trust chooses affirmation over frustration, maintaining alignment even in uncertainty. Right timing balances preparation and opportunity. When preparation is incomplete, opportunity delays. When preparation is complete, opportunity appears. Trust focuses attention on preparation rather than impatience. Skills sharpen, awareness increases, and readiness deepens. This focus transforms waiting into purposeful engagement rather than idle frustration. The unseen order often resolves conflicts before they reach awareness. Situations that seem stalled may actually be rearranging to prevent complications. Trust recognizes that not every obstacle requires confrontation. Some dissolve through realignment. This understanding reduces the urge to interfere prematurely. Confidence in timing grows through experience. Each instance where patience led to better outcomes strengthens belief in order. Memory of these instances becomes a foundation for future trust. Reflection on past alignment reinforces present calm, reminding the mind that order has operated consistently even when it was not understood at the time. Trust also influences relationships. When timing is respected, connections form with greater ease and authenticity. Forced interactions often lack stability, while aligned connections develop naturally. Trust removes the need to chase or manipulate outcomes, allowing relationships to unfold with mutual readiness. Faith in unseen order stabilizes emotional energy. Instead of rising and falling with external changes, emotion remains anchored. This stability improves focus and resilience. When emotional energy is conserved, it can be directed toward meaningful action rather than worry. Ultimately, trust transforms uncertainty from a threat into a space of possibility. The unknown becomes a field where alignment is working, rather than a void to fear. This shift changes how challenges are perceived and how opportunities are received. Trust allows timing to reveal itself without resistance, supporting progress that is steady, coherent, and aligned with deeper order. Inner alignment as the source of outer harmony. Inner alignment begins with the recognition that outer conditions are reflections rather than origins. What appears in experience is shaped by internal coherence or conflict. When thoughts, feelings, and intentions move in different directions, life reflects that fragmentation through confusion, resistance, and repeated obstacles. When these inner elements are brought into agreement, experience begins to organize itself with greater ease. Harmony outside is not something to be chased. It emerges naturally when the inner state becomes ordered and clear. Alignment is not about perfection, but about consistency. A person may hold positive thought, yet carry emotional resistance or desire progress while fearing change. These mixed signals create instability. Inner alignment occurs when desire, belief, and expectation support the same direction. In this state, energy is no longer scattered. Decisions feel simpler, actions feel lighter, and effort becomes focused rather than strained. The mind stops arguing with itself, and this silence creates space for clarity to rise. Many outer struggles are attempts to compensate for inner misalignment. People try to control environments, relationships, or outcomes because they feel uncertain within. Control offers temporary relief but reinforces dependence on external stability. Inner alignment reverses this dependency. When confidence is rooted internally, external change no longer feels threatening. The individual responds rather than reacts, choosing actions from awareness rather than habit. This shift alone transforms many situations without direct confrontation. Values play a central role in alignment. When actions contradict personal values, discomfort arises, even if success appears outwardly. This discomfort signals misalignment. When actions reflect values, a sense of integrity emerges, strengthening confidence and focus. Integrity is alignment in motion. It simplifies choices because decisions no longer require constant justification. What aligns feels right without explanation, and this certainty influences how others respond. Attention reveals alignment or its absence. Where attention is constantly drawn to conflict, comparison, or lack, inner harmony is disturbed. Redirecting attention toward order, possibility, and purpose gradually restores balance. Attention feeds whatever it rests upon. By choosing where attention settles, alignment is either strengthened or weakened. This choice is ongoing, made in small moments rather than dramatic shifts. Inner alignment requires honesty with oneself. Denial creates inner tension, while acknowledgement releases it. Recognizing fear, doubt, or resistance without judgment allows those states to soften. Suppression increases conflict, while awareness integrates experience. Alignment does not mean eliminating discomfort, but allowing it to inform adjustment. Each emotion carries information. When listened to rather than resisted, it guides realignment. Beliefs often operate beneath awareness, influencing behavior subtly. Conflicting beliefs pull energy in opposing directions. One belief may support growth, while another warns against risk. Alignment requires examining these beliefs and choosing which to strengthen. Strengthening a belief does not require argument. It requires repetition and reinforcement through thought, speech, and action. Over time, the dominant belief shapes experience consistently. Alignment also affects communication. When inner intent is unclear, communication becomes confusing. Mixed messages are sent, expectations remain unspoken, and misunderstandings arise. When intent is clear internally, communication becomes direct and calm. Words carry less defensiveness and more authority. This clarity reduces conflict and increases cooperation because others respond to coherence instinctively. Emotional alignment stabilizes energy. When emotions fluctuate wildly, productivity and focus suffer. Stability does not require emotional numbness, but emotional regulation. This regulation emerges from understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. Choosing how to respond to emotion preserves alignment. Over time, this choice becomes habitual, and emotional balance strengthens naturally. The body reflects alignment as well. Physical tension often mirrors mental conflict. When decisions are avoided or values are compromised, the body responds with fatigue or discomfort. When alignment is restored, energy often increases without external change. Posture shifts, breathing deepens, and movement becomes more fluid. These physical changes reinforce mental clarity, creating a feedback loop that supports harmony. Alignment influences timing. When inner readiness is incomplete, opportunities may feel overwhelming or premature. When readiness is present, opportunities feel natural and manageable. Forcing outcomes before alignment is complete often leads to stress or reversal. Allowing alignment to mature invites timing that supports sustainability rather than strain. Purpose strengthens alignment by providing direction. When actions are disconnected from meaning, motivation weakens. When purpose is clear, effort feels worthwhile even during challenge. Purpose does not need to be grand, it needs to be authentic. Alignment grows when actions serve something personally meaningful rather than external approval. This authenticity stabilizes confidence and reduces comparison. Relationships reflect inner alignment clearly. When individuals are aligned, boundaries are clear and respect flows naturally. When misaligned, relationships often involve overcompensation, dependency, or conflict. Alignment allows connection without self-abandonment. This balance supports mutual growth rather than control or sacrifice. As inner harmony strengthens, relationship dynamics adjust without force. Resistance often signals misalignment between current behavior and deeper intention. Listening to resistance rather than pushing through it allows course correction. Ignoring resistance may produce temporary results but increases long-term strain. Alignment values sustainability over speed. Adjustments made early prevent greater disruption later. Consistency reinforces alignment. Sporadic effort creates instability, while steady practice builds trust in oneself. Small aligned actions repeated daily reshape identity. Identity influences expectation, and expectation shapes experience. Through consistency, alignment becomes a natural state, rather than a conscious effort. Inner alignment does not isolate individuals from challenge. Challenges still arise, but they are met with resilience rather than panic. The difference lies in interpretation. Aligned individuals view challenges as information rather than threats. This interpretation preserves energy and clarity. Responses become strategic rather than emotional. As alignment deepens, reliance on external validation decreases. Confidence becomes self-sustaining. Praise and criticism lose their power to disrupt balance. This independence allows freedom of movement and expression. Decisions are made based on inner guidance, rather than external pressure. Outer harmony emerges gradually as alignment stabilizes. Situations reorganize, conflicts reduce, and opportunities align with readiness. This harmony is not dramatic but steady. It feels natural rather than forced. Life begins to reflect the order accepted within, not because it was demanded, but because coherence attracts coherence. Inner alignment ultimately restores trust and self-direction. When thought, feeling, and action agree, momentum builds without struggle. Experience becomes less about managing chaos and more about participating in order. Harmony outside becomes an extension of harmony within, sustained by awareness, consistency, and clarity in every choice made along the way.